Setting up correct heart rate zones on your Garmin watch is important. It helps you to properly train and is an important factor in your VO2 max and other calculations. Garmin provides you with several different ways to set your heart rate zones. Let's go through them one by one. The first is as a percent of maximum heart rate. Most fitness trackers and smartwatches will calculate your zones by working backwards from your maximum heart rate. This is the highest heart rate you can achieve without potential for severe health problems. At least that's the theory. By default, max heart rate is calculated by subtracting your age from 220 for males and 226 for females. Needless to say, while it may work for the population as a whole, this is not the most accurate method of calculation for an individual. You can edit your maximum heart rate and zones manually by going into Settings in Garmin Connect. Click on Devices, Settings, User Profile. Now choose Heart Rate and Power Zones, Heart Rate. On this screen, you can adjust your maximum heart rate by going into the tab with that name or by choosing Zones. But prior to that, you'll want to figure out the true value of your maximum heart rate to the best of your ability. You can do this by running as fast as you can for 3 minutes and then continuing with a gentle run for a further 3 minutes. The final stage is repeating the 3-minute maximum effort. You should hit your maximum heart rate during this last interval. Most of the recent crop of Garmin watches make this easier. They have an auto-detect feature to automatically record your maximum heart rate during an activity. Just make sure to toggle the settings auto-detection. On this screen, check that max HR is set to on. This customizes the figure for you, and so that it doesn't rely on population averages. The heart rate reserve method takes into account your resting heart rate when making these types of calculations. Your RHR is calculated automatically each morning, and you can find its value in the smartphone app and on your watch. Trained athletes tend to have lower RHR values. Garmin takes this RHR value in addition to your maximum heart rate and calculates the difference. This way it knows the operating range of your heart, rather than some implied assumptions. It then works out the individual heart rate zones. The HRR method is not used as much as the maximum heart rate route. Despite this, it is considered by many to be a more accurate way of calculating these metrics. To enable this method, simply go to Settings, User Profile, Heart Rate and Power Zones, Heart Rate, Zones, Based on. Then choose %HRR. The third option for calculating heart rate zones is via the % of lactate threshold method. This is probably the most accurate way of determining the values. It is also the one most used for race pacing or training at race pace, but it is also the most complicated to implement correctly. Lactate threshold is the value of your heart rate, where your muscles start to rapidly fatigue. This is a running pace that you cannot sustain over the long term. This is done the same way as choosing the HRR method, but instead of %HRR, choose %LTHR. There are many ways to calculate your lactate threshold. You can manually enter the value, for example. Garmin allows you to do this, or the watch can automatically make adjustments for you. Just make sure auto detection threshold is set to on in your user profile on Garmin Connect. It is important to note that you will need to train with a heart rate chest strap in order for Garmin to be able to auto-detect your LTHR. You can also perform a guided test. It requires you to have a GPS signal and a heart rate strap around your chest. The watch will then walk you through what you need to do. It's a good idea to do this from time to time to make sure your heart rate zones are set correctly.